Hello everyone, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my Sunday share. And just a few reminders before I get started. This is my hostess code for October, which is good for a couple more weeks. And then I have the Hung with Care stamp set that I'm giving away as a door prize for the month of October. So everyone that places orders with me, your name will be entered into a drawing for this free stamp set. I also want to remind everyone the deadline to sign up to subscribe for the November paper pumpkin, which will be Christmas themed. And if you're interested in Christmas projects, now is a good time to sign up. I just wanted to give you a sneak peek of the October kit, which was all about feathers. Aren't these cards pretty? So if you're a subscriber, you would have received this kit this month. And I do have one extra kit if anybody's interested in purchasing it. Okay, now let's get on with tonight's projects. So I'm featuring the Joyous Noel suite that's on page 28 of the holiday catalog. There's a lot of projects here. I'm actually going to be creating 3 cards and 3 coordinating tags. And once my video is done, make sure you guys keep sharing. I'm going to actually draw 3 names from this class tonight, and the winners will get a card and a coordinating tag. The designer paper I'm using tonight is the Joyous Noel. As you can see, some of the sheets have some foil paper on them. This is the stamp set, Peaceful Noel, and I'm pretty much using at least over half of the stamps in the set. And I'm also using the Merry Christmas Thinlits dies, and I'll show you that as I go along to each project. I'm trying to move everything here so I'll have enough room to work. For ink colors, Tranquil Tide, Whisper White, Merry Merlot, and Gray Granite. And I know a lot of you guys fell in love with the Merry Merlot color on the last video that I used. It is such a pretty color. So now let me bring in what I need for project number 1, which will be the first card. And this is the card. Now let me show it to you in the catalog. So I'm casing the catalog tonight, but this card is actually a square card, and I opted to create it in our normal 5.5 by 4.25 inch side. So it's the same items, but I've added a white card base on the bottom. So I'm starting out, let me move some stuff. Thick Whisper White, 11 by 4.25, scored at 5.5. And then I have 2 pieces of the designer paper. Now, the way I did this, because I knew I was going to be creating 2 cards, I started out with a square piece. So this one measures 3.25 by 3.25. Then I cut it in half. So I was able to make 2 cards with 1 square piece. And then what I did is I flipped this over, I traced this shape, and I cut that off. Just an easy way to make everything fit nice and neat. So I'm going to glue down the designer paper. So you can see that I'm using all the same layers that is in the catalog, but I'm opting to make a bigger card. Okay, so there's those 2 pieces. Next, I've gone ahead and done one of these already because I have to cut these by hand. I'm bringing in the Tranquil Tide ink. I'm going to stamp the leaf image. And then you've seen me do this before. I'm using the blender pen just to pick up the ink from the ink lines. And I am leaving a little bit of white space. So I'm just adding a little bit of color. Now I'm going to hand cut this one, so you just have to watch me cut one. So you'll see as I create here, I'm going to create one card and one coordinating tag at a time. So that'll be a coordinating set. And as I stated at the beginning of my video, I'm going to choose 3 names tonight. And each winner will get a card and a coordinating tag. And I really like the tag that, I liked all 3 tags, but the one that goes with this card is really neat. I actually had to plug in my glue gun. So you're going to see me use that here in a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to glue these 2 leaves down. Now, isn't it neat how this looks like a continuous one piece, but it's actually 2 pieces? The sentiment actually hides it. So I'm going to add this right here. And then continue on with this one. Now I'm going to bring in the Whisper White ink and the Merry Little Christmas sentiment with the white ink. Now make sure if you're replicating this card, the white ink takes longer to dry. It's not a dye ink. So I'm going to try not to handle it, just so I don't smudge it. So the sentiment's going to be glued down with Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to cover right where those 2 leaves meet. So again, you can't even tell that there's 2 leaves there. Now the last step to the card is to add the 3 sequins. So I'm going to add glue dots, 3 of them. I'm going to use my little new tool. Let me see if I can find some gold ones. Actually, I'll use copper this time. I used gold on the first card. See how easy that is with this tool? You just pick and, whoops, I had 2 in that one. So let me squeeze some more of the glue out. So once the little glue fell off because I had 2 sequins, all you do is twist this and then you get a little bit more glue that comes out, and then I just push on it to make sure it stays nice and flat. This is a must-have. You have got to order this tool. Okay, so that's card number 1. How quick was that? And look how pretty with the 2 layers of designer paper, the 2 patterns. So let me move these aside. And I'll bring in, oh, I forgot to show you, this was the label that I used from the Thinlit sets that I showed you. So this is project number 2. Let me just bring in all the pieces. Now for this one, I'm using the little snowflake from the Snowflakes and Stars wire elements, and then you'll see me use the star on card number 2. I'm also using the Mary Merlot reversible ribbon. Now this ribbon is Mary Merlot on one side, and it's got the copper shimmer on the other side, which is so pretty. So what I've done with this one, I've gone ahead and used the stitch shaped dies, the largest of the circle, and cut one of those. I also used the 1.5 inch circle punch, and this is gray granite. First thing I'm going to do is just snip a little hole for the twine, and this is just a 1/8 handheld punch. So let me thread that through. So I just threaded threaded the twine, and this is from the Festive Farmhouse twine that actually comes in the 3 colors, and I'm using, this is like a very vanilla white. You can pass it off as white actually. I'm just going to tie a knot, and then what I usually do is flip it over so the knot's in the back. Now here comes the fun. This is a piece of the designer paper. It's 12 inches by 1, and what I did, I brought in my score tool. I've already done this, but I scored at every 1/4 of an inch. Now for those of you, like some of my customers who hate to measure, if you look at your scoring tool, it's every 2 lines is a 1/4 of an inch. So I've already gone ahead and done that. So now I'm folding accordion style, which I started. So let me continue on. I didn't want you to have to watch me score that whole 12-inch piece. So what I do is I fold at a distance, and then I just press to flatten it all out. Continue on. Now I'm going to bring in the liquid glue, and I add glue to the 2 ends. I guess I forgot to show you a close-up of the ornament before I continue. It has a little rosette in the center, and that's what I'm showing you how to create, is the little rosette. So I've added the liquid glue to 2 of the folded ends. I'm going to bring this over, layer it on top. So you're making a circle. Now let me bring in my glue gun. I just want to make sure this is nice and glued in place. Okay, now what we're going to do, this is the side that I want facing out. So I'm actually going to, you kind of just flip it and push it in. And I'm kind of just working with my fingers to get all of the folds lined up. And I'm making my circle really tight. Okay, so there's my rosette circle. Now I'm going to bring in the punch circle, add the hot glue, and be careful when you're using hot glue. Oops, I just lost my rosette. Hold on. Now I'm going to take this, flip it upside, flip it upside down, and again I'm going to push all of those rosettes in. This is just an easy way to get everything glued down. So I'm just going to press down on that just for a second. And then when you flip it over, there's your rosette. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of the hot glue. This one here flattened out on me, but that's okay. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue in the center. It's going to be covered by the banner. And then we're going to press that in place. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute, and I'm actually going to put my punch on top for weight while we do up the little banner. Now let me clean my stamp. This time I'm using the Mary Merlot ink. Jean says this is where I need a third hand. I usually do pretty good, but of course because I'm on the video, that's where I'm gonna mess up, right? Now I'm using the Duet banner punch. It has 2 banners. I'm going to cut those 2 out. I'm going to use this one for the bottom layer. And then this one is for the sentiment. And what I actually did, now remember that I'm just going by the photos in the catalog. I might not be doing it exactly the way they did, because they actually used a glitter snowflake and I wanted to use these cute embellishments. Now I'm going to cut from there to there. I'm just going to cut those off. And then I'm going to bring in the mini dimensionals. I think it's taking me longer to make this ornament than it did the whole card. Isn't that funny? Okay, so there's my double layered banner. I need to fix that just a little bit. It's crooked. Okay, now I'm going to add hot glue to the back. And then lay that over the center. And now all I have left to do is to glue the rosette to my stitch circle. I have glue string everywhere. Okay, and there's project number 2. So doesn't that make a nice little set? So this will be the first drawing that I'll have. Now let me regroup for project number 3. So this is project number 3. And because I used the snowflake element on this one, which is what they used on this card, I opted to go with the stars instead. I'm using the Mary Merlot and Tranquil Tide Stampin' Right markers. A little piece of the Joyous Noel glimmer paper, and that's 1/4 inch wide, and I'm going to trim that. 2 of the stars. And then for the card base, Tranquil Tide 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Designer paper, this one is 4.5 by 3 1/4. Whisper white, 3 3/4 by 2 1/4. So let me go ahead and fold this card down. So how many of you guys have this stamp set? I've had it for a while and I'm just now using it. Now where's my ink? Okay, Tranquil Tide. The little image that I'm using is the one with the little snowflake shapes. And I'm just going to go across. You can see how easy it is to form a line. And what I'm doing is the 3 little dots at the top. I'm using the top dot even with the top of my cardstock. So it makes it really easy to line it up. Now I'm going to go down on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to go across. And then I'm going to have to actually go back and fill in where you see the spacing. And I'm just going to turn this over so I can use the little piece there at the end. So you could actually do the whole thing, but you're covering most of it anyway. So that's why I opted to just do all of the 4 sides. Next up is the designer paper. So that's going to be centered. And we're going to use the same stamp image on the Whisper White, but a different color. This time is Gray Granite. And the bottom right-hand corner and the top left-hand corner. Isn't that cute? That's all it needs. So cute. Now, because my sentiment is in 2 colors, I'm using the Stampin' Right markers to color my sentiment. And I use the fat brush side of my marker. So I'm going to color, and I go left to right. Now with the Tranquil Tide. And you can see how nicely the markers color on the photopolymer. Now, for those of you that have had children and you did your Lamaze breathing, I'm going to breathe on this just to moisten it again because it's been sitting. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. And there's your 2 colors. Now let's glue that in place with Stampin' Dimensionals. And that's going to go on top of the designer paper. And I'm actually gluing it to the right and to the bottom, 1/4 of an inch on each side. Next, we have the glimmer paper, and I found the easiest way to glue that in place is to just use the liquid glue, go straight across. Even if you're not straight, you're going to cover most of it. I hated to cover the stamping there. Actually, I'm going to bring it down just a little so you can see more of it. And then we just trim the ends at an angle. Isn't that nice with just that little bit of sparkle? Next up, we have to glue the stars in place. Now, the easiest way I found to do that is to use the glue dots, and I'm actually rolling them. And I'm putting them on these little curlies in the center. So I'm going to do 5 on each star. Whoops. Okay, number 5. And then we want to make sure that the loop is facing the top. And then you just press down on the center, and that is not going anywhere. It's stuck there. So we're going to do the same thing for number 2. And I try to find the side that's more curvy, which I added, whoops, there's my glue dot. I thought I lost it. So that the curvy part, because it seems to go down some a little bit. So if you press on the curvy part in the center, it makes it so easy to glue down. 2 more. Again, I'm looking for the loop at the top. And then I'm pressing that down. Isn't that cute? I love these copper elements. So that's card number 2. Now let me bring in project number 4. So you know that this project is going to coordinate with card number 2. These are the elements I'm using. And I'm going to create this cute little tag. And it is the same as what's in here, except I'm adding a little bit of the glimmer paper to coordinate with the card. So even though I'm casing, I'm actually changing things. Now, what I did to shape my tag is I took this scrap piece and cut the corner off. And I'm going to use that as my template. It just makes it easy to have both sides evenly cut. So see how quick that was? And then I'm going to bring in my little punch again with the same twine. And with my scissors, make a knot. And again, you can pull this so that the knot is behind. And if this was mine, I would actually add a glue dot to the back to hold the knot in place. Now, I'm going to bring in an aqua painter. Let me grab the right ink pad. Tranquil Tide. And I'm actually going to just do a quick wash. That's all I'm doing. And then on top of that wash, I'm going to add the same leaf image you saw me use on card number 1. This dries quick enough because it was such a quick wash. Okay. Next, we're going to glue the designer paper. And this was just a scrap piece that I had left over, and then I just thought I'd lay it on there and trim it. Same thing with the glimmer paper. Then I'm using gray granite with this little tiny dotted image that's going to go above the glimmer paper. And the Noel above that. So now, because we used the star on the card, we're going to use the star on the tag also. So one more time with the glue dots. Jean says I make it look so easy, but that's because everything is cut up already. And I don't really have, other than the couple little shapes that I used on card number 1 and the ornament, I really don't have anything to cut with the Big Shot tonight too, so that makes it easy. Okay, so now all we have to do is find the top of the star and press it in place over the leaf image. So there's tag number 2. So you can see how adding the glimmer paper coordinates with the card a lot better than not having the glimmer paper. Okay, so let's move on to project number 5. Okay, I have a mess going on. Okay, so we're using the sprig punch, the glimmer paper from the Joyous Noel. I've gone ahead and cut the stitch-shaped oval. Now this would be oval number 2. It's not the largest one, it's the next one down. Gray granite, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And then Whisper White. This one measures 5 by 3 3/4. Hold on, I got something missing. Here it is. I'm using the 1/2" circle punch. And let me show you the card that I'm creating. It's this one, which is pretty much the exact same replication as what was in the catalog. So what I've done is I've rounded the corners by using the 1/2" circle punch, and I put it in about halfway through, and I just snip off the end just like that. It's just a really quick way of adding a decorative corner. And if you want a larger curve, you could use a larger punch like the 3/4 inch or the 1 inch. Now for the sprigs, these are actually cut apart. So I'll cut, we've got 1, 2, and 3. So let me cut 3 of these. And then I'm actually going to cut them in half. Okay, so let me set those aside. Now, the way I did my stamping on this is I actually brought in a pencil. I wanted all of my sprigs around the oval to be uniform. So I added my oval and I actually traced it because you won't be able to see it anyway when you glue it in everything else in place after everything's stamped. So it just gives you a pattern to go by. So we're using this one. Let me clean my little leaf image. I'm using a lot of stamps on this one. The little holly berry and the holly leaf. And I'm going to start out with the gray granite. So I'm just going to go around the oval. And just to make it easy, I'm just going to replicate the one that I've already done. So I'm just trying to fill in around the oval. Next is Tranquil Tide. Now for this one, what I did is I stamped it twice without re-inking. So you get the dark and the light variation of color there. And let's see, let me go this way. And it's okay to overlap on the other sprigs, because all we're doing is trying to fill this in. And then, where's my scrap? That's why you saw a lot of these on my scrap, because I'm actually stamping off to make it lighter. Now this one, all I'm doing is filling in the blanks wherever I feel there needs to be something going on. And don't forget that we also have the glitter sprigs to add. Okay, now I need Mary Merlot and my little berries. I love the way the little berries pop against all the other colors. You know what, I'm gonna add one more. I need something right here for color. Whoops, I almost grabbed the wrong color. I think I did. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna do. Now let's bring in the oval. And I need the other sentiment. It's here somewhere. Here it is. I'm not sure if I used this yet, so I better clean it just in case. And Mary Merlot ink. And that's going to go right in the center. I'm going to let that dry and then glue everything else in place. I keep teasing you guys about, you should see what my counter looks like. I would not want to show you. It's a complete disaster here. I keep shoving everything aside, so it's just making a huge mess. And no, I will not take a picture and show you. I usually show you the before pictures though. Okay, now I'm bringing in tear and tape. Let me find my end. And I'm going to go right across the card. And paper piercer. And I'm going to add this pretty Merlot ribbon, and I'm using the coppery shimmery side. And then I'm going to trim that. So look how pretty that ribbon is. It's gorgeous. Next, we're going to add the little sprigs, the glimmer sprigs. So let me flip all of these over on the back side. I'm just going to add glue on all of them so I can just flip them over. So I just bought this sprig punch a couple weeks ago because I buy a little bit at a time. And it's like, wow, I love it. So again, I'm just adding these where you see some spaces in between the other branches. So I've got 6 total. I think I glued them before I added the ribbon the first time, so I just hope these are going to stay in place. You know what I'm going to do just in case? I'm going to add a layer of tear and tape over, because I should have glued these down before I glued down the ribbon. And I'm going to leave the backing on there. I hope that makes sense. It's just going to secure them in place. And lastly is the sentiment. Oh, Rhonda, you think it would be funny if I shared my counter? I don't dare. I'm such a neat freak that I would die if you saw the mess that I'm creating. And then this goes right in the center. So there's card number 3. So you can see the shimmer from the ribbon and then the glittery from the glimmer paper. Okay, let's move on to the last project. Oh, I had 2 of these. I didn't realize I had one cut. Now I've already gone ahead and cut the little sprigs on this one. So let me bring in the catalog. Now I didn't feel that this coordinated with anything. I wanted to make it match this card, so I'm not using the same stamping at all. I'm just using the shape and the ribbon. And as you can see, I use the same stamped images. So I'm going to start out with the triple banner punch. So now let's bring in all of the same ink colors. So again, I'm just going to fill this up with little sprigs. There's number 1. And where's my other one? Here it is. Same color, gray granite. I love the way this looks when they overlap like that too. Isn't that pretty with the same color? And I'm going to add one in the middle even though it's going to be covered. Next is Tranquil Tide. And again, I'm going to stamp without re-inking twice. Just filling in the blanks. And then we've got the holly and the holly berries and my little scrap here. So this is pretty quick to do. You can't go wrong. You just need to fill in all of the white space. Let's do one more. The center is pretty much going to be filled up with the sentiment layer. Now let's do some holly berries. So if you guys are asking questions, I will go back and answer them. It's just hard for me to do all of these projects and then answer questions at the same time. I kind of peek up once in a while to see if there's anything right in front of me. The comments scroll so fast that sometimes I do miss them. Okay, now we're going to do the little stitching, the little dotted image. And what I did with that is I started right in the center on the bottom. And I worked my way out. Same thing with the other side. And this is kind of neat because the circles get smaller as you go towards the end. Okay, so there's my stitching. And lastly, let me find the right sentiment. Now this one says, may your Christmas be holly, jolly, and bright. And that's with the Merry Merlot. Now I'm going to glue that in place. Right in the center. Now, one more step before I glue the little glitter shapes in. I have a 1/4 inch handheld punch. I'm going to cut a hole. And then I'm using the 1/2 inch circle punch. And I'm making a little reinforcement. I'm going to cut the hole in my tag. And then just add glue around the circle. And there's my little reinforcement. Isn't that cute? Now we're going to bring in the same shimmer ribbon. Put that through the hole. And I'm actually tying that in place with some linen thread. Now I gotta find it first. It's somewhere. Where's Waldo? Oh no, I can't find it. Here it is. Nope, that's the ribbon. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So I would normally tie the linen thread around that. I can't find it right now. It's here somewhere. So let me go ahead and glue the little sprigs. Now I did cut 2 of them a little shorter. I have glue on my fingertips and everything is sticking to me. Oh, here's my linen thread. It was right there. You guys should have told me. Usually you tell me when you see it before I do. So while I'm doing the sprig, I'm gonna keep going. And I'll do the ribbon last. So I'm just butting that up against the cardstock. See, I have adhesive all over my fingers and it's sticking to me. Okay, there's that one. Now let's see if we can finish off the ribbon. So all I did on this one is I just tied a double knot. And then I'll bring in all 6 projects when I'm done, in case you guys chimed in late. Don't forget to share my video. I'm going to draw 3 names, 1 for each card and 1 for each tag. Okay, so there's my final project. Isn't that cute with the glimmer? Okay, so let me move all of the ink pads and supplies aside. I'll bring in all the projects. So this was project number 1 with the coordinating tag with the rosette. Project number 2 with the coordinating tag. And then the 3rd one with the coordinating tag. So that's it for tonight, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my projects. Let me bring the stamp set out so you guys can see it again. Now, a few things for this week. I will have my Design with Debbie on Wednesday, and you should see the list of products that you need for class posted later on tonight. I have a slight schedule change. It was supposed to be my Friday Folds class on Friday. I double booked myself. I actually have a live class with my local girls. So I'm going to have my Friday folds on Thursday night instead. So it'll be a night earlier. So you should see a notification if you're following all of my events. I'm losing my voice, so it's time to say goodnight. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. And thanks so much for joining me tonight. Good night.